Hello, everyone. We're back. We're live. And my name's Nick Cuthbert from OK Student. I'm an international student advisor and director of OK Student here in the UK. And I'm joined by Martin again.
Hey guys, how are you? Yeah, I'm Martin. I'm running the marketing team at OK Student. And yeah, I think you guys saw me on our Advisory Live last week when I was replacing Mariana, who was on a holiday. And yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while with this Friday's Q&A, Nick, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been the kind of COVID journey so far. We've been doing these live Q&As on a Friday, and in some ways, we're kind of feeling like it's coming full circle. We're getting answers now to some of the questions we had 3-4 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, everyone who's who have tuned in or are watching the live, if you look at the title of this session is, we went nicely back to the very first session we actually made, which we called Making Sense of the Chaos, and feeling that we are back at that point.
Yeah, definitely. When schools closed and the exams were cancelled, it was chaos. It was absolute chaos. Everybody had questions. Nobody had answers. And now we're at the point where we thought we might have a few more answers, but there's still quite a lot of chaos out there. We're getting a lot of questions. There's a lot of news reporting here particularly about UK A-level results.
Definitely. So, yeah, to give a little overview, what the whole session is going to be about is exactly what we just said. We're just trying to provide as much value as possible and help all of our listeners, whether you are students who are applying now or who have already by now gotten their unconditional from the university, or you're just an industry professional and looking for information that helps to be in that weird situation. So what's the overlook of the topics today, Nick? A-levels for sure?
A-levels for sure. I think we just need to talk a little bit about the current situation and the implications for universities and for students, as you said, this year and then next year. And we can try our best to try and forecast some of these things. I think, but the starter of the day definitely is a massive congratulations to all the students who've received their grades now. It's been a super stressful time for students, and I think it's really nice that many of them have had their futures sorted. Many of them have secure places with us as OK Student as well, and it's just really nice to see people in that position where they can get ready to take the next step and come to university. And congratulations to everybody, because it's been so difficult, and for many people this struggle is still ongoing. I understand that, but for many people, you do need to take a moment to celebrate if you have achieved what you wanted.
This time of the year is the best, isn't it? Like many of our students, they start the journey of applying in October or sometimes even September time, isn't it? And it's been almost a year now. So getting those university places and actually finally having the peace of knowing where, when, and why I'm going must be really enjoyable.
Yeah, it's enjoyable and stressful for everybody at this time of year. I spare a thought for the admissions teams at universities. I know everybody gets frustrated about wanting an answer quickly, but those people are working so hard in the interest of students, all of our university partners, to try and confirm the places and get people feeling reassured, making the right decisions for them, because everybody wants students to succeed as well. Once they come on the course, they need to be qualified and ready to achieve. So those admissions people take that very seriously, and obviously thousands of students involved here. And so, those guys are working so hard, and it must be a very tough year for them.
And on top of that, like sometimes government just feels like throwing in a couple of surprises at the very end, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I can't recall a time like this ever where the day before national results come out, the government just changed their mind, and then 3 days later, something like that, they realize they've made an almighty error and changed their mind again. I mean, it's been carnage, really, in terms of students getting the right grades, knowing what grades they've even got, universities, confirming places based on this data. So it has been messy, and the government have not helped at all. Yeah.
And we were just discussing before going live, like the latest, like we had a little recap of the numbers of the students. So do you want to give like a short rundown on what were those fun surprises that government threw in lately, and how and what kind of impact they might have on universities now starting?
Right, I'm so reluctant to do this because I'm probably going to get something wrong, but let's just try and do a potted history. So last week was UK A-level results, and these grades were, as we discussed in the first ever live we did, based on teachers' moderated grades, so giving their suggestions, but also crucially, they were based on the ranking within their own school. So the schools or centres had to rank the pupils in order. So not just the grades they got, but the ranking. And then the government looked at the school's performance in previous years and did a kind of big algorithm to show what that school performance would have looked like. So nothing to do with the students' performance, but what the school performance would have looked like. And basically, they were trying desperately to model the same grades as last year. So each school giving out the same number of A's and B's and C's. And so it fitted nicely to an algorithm, a curve, so that we could have this consistency year on year. And when we heard about this months ago, we could see the problem. The problem was clearly that students were not going to get their predicted grades, and they were going to be very unhappy because they don't even have the chance to take an exam and show what they can do. They were going to given downgraded results. And lo and behold, that's what happened. It happened in Scotland, and then it happened in England. And even though we kind of could see it coming, the government, I think, underestimated the reaction of students themselves, of Generation Z, of also parent power. This is the parents have a vested interest in their students' grades and happiness. And basically, it all kicked off big time. What I love is that the students took to the streets of London to protest. Many students, as many as 280,000 students being downgraded from their predicted results. And of course, they were not happy because this was not based on anything they'd done. It was just based on an algorithm of how their school had performed in the past.
So for someone who might not be aware what the downgrading means, like what does it mean that many students were downgraded from their given grade?
Yes, the teachers suggested these grades, or their mock exams suggested these grades, but the algorithm forced their grades down because of the performance of their school against other schools across the country, because they were only willing to give so many of each grade out. And so kind of the further down you were in that postcode lottery, in areas where schools aren't necessarily as high performing, a state school versus a public school, all of those things. So basically, it really disadvantaged students from poorer postcodes, from socio-economic backgrounds that cause difficulties. And they were being really fundamentally disadvantaged by these things that have nothing to do with their performance. And you could see it coming out in individual stories of students who'd been offered, places based on their performance and interviews at high-ranking universities, suddenly receiving not just one grade down, several grades down, no reflection on who they really were and their academic attributes.
Have you heard stories how universities reacted to that?
Yes. So there was some amazing responses to this, and like polar opposites. So what happened was, because of COVID and people thinking about the restrictions on numbers, also remember the government put a cap on numbers so that universities couldn't just collect all the best students. So many students were rejected by high-ranking universities. The big one was the University of Cambridge, saying that they didn't have the capacity this year, and that because of the government restrictions, they had to reject many more students. And so many students massively unhappy there, because some of them had even met their grades of their offer and they were still being rejected. And then the opposite of that was universities like Oxford, or some of the colleges within Oxford, where they made an independent decision to say, actually, regardless of what grades you get, if you were made an offer because they didn't agree with the government process, they would confirm the place. And actually, many universities have followed that pathway now of coming out and publicly saying, regardless of what the grades you've been given, if you were made an offer, we will now confirm your place.
I mean, from the marketing and PR point of view, I just can't see any logical reasoning behind putting out the statement that, sorry guys, we can't accept you all, because it's just basically like a awful PR. Like, why would you do that? Well,
there's a few things. Like, physical capacity is a big thing. If you're doing sciences and you need labs, if you need accommodation, these things are limited. And for instance, now, because the government has changed and said that you can have the grades you were predicted, so we've come full circle to say that that is the case. There are now 38% of students are receiving A's or A stars, so the highest grade. You compare that to last year, that was about 25%. So a huge increase of students with the top grades all now meeting the conditions of the offer, whereas last year they wouldn't. If they'd taken the exam, there would have been attrition so that some of them wouldn't have got those A's.
Which is now so fair for the universities who've been preparing with all of the COVID guidelines and like reduced capacity, and now a bummer, like there's more people coming, there's more students coming.
Yes, so it's what you call adjustment. So when students receive higher grades than an average year, it means more of them can take up offers at the very best universities, or the highest kind of priced courses in terms of entry requirements. And so you're getting this big movement where the universities confirmed lots of places, and now there's as many as 15,000 more students who have the grades to go up where they were rejected, but now to go up to those universities. So UCAS is trying to sort this out. Hopefully that those students will get placed, but some of them will get deferred to 2021. So maybe we should talk a bit about, the implications for the future.
Yeah, just to clarify from before, so those 15,000, they are not fully new people, are they? Or some of them are?
No. So they're students who were made an offer, who were subsequently rejected, and now, because they know they're getting their centre assessed grades, the grades that were predicted by their school or college, they now basically meet the conditions of that offer. So they need to be accepted, but it comes down to capacity issues now because of the late in the day.
But I'm assuming there is many students who didn't meet their like top choice, and they were confirmed to some lower level university, but now they might be able to go to the their number one choice university. That's the case as well, right?
Absolutely. So really, the universities were very, very flexible. Many of them, I think as many as 70% of students were accepted into their first choice university, regardless of dropping grades. So the universities were ahead of the game here. They worked out that they could accept students and they were willing to do so. But the problem comes at the very top of the chain where,
there's nowhere to go.
Universities are very selective. They receive lots of applications, with the highest graded students. And now there are more of those students out there. So they've probably accepted as many as they would normally accept. And now they've got to accommodate more. And also that acceptance impacts lower down the chain. So students that would have been rejected in previous years kind of go down to a lower ranking university, whereas now so many have been accepted. It's kind of like many more have gone up the chain as opposed to gone down. So you'll find that some universities, modern universities, that had very open entry requirements, there are less of the students around who have those grades now. So those are the ones that will be still worrying about their financial situation and, really looking to confirm places. So there will still be many, many places still available in clearing.
Okay. Yeah, very, very, very interesting, and so many moving parts.
So many moving parts. And the UK system is that you apply a year in advance, get your grades and confirm your place. And this year it's really shown how it's a very problematic system when the data changes so much in a single year. And this will now impact onto the next years, yeah.
But very soon, I think we will have peace for a while. Maybe not.
There's a few topics that will come out of this. The students that haven't managed or don't get a place for September, there may be some January starts. So some universities might say, actually, let's start to introduce places in January. There is something called retention of students, where some students in the first term, for whatever reason, some people get homesick, or some people, don't necessarily enjoy the course they start on. So some of them drop out and places become available. So you may get January starts as a kind of next entry. And then you've obviously got next year where people will start to confirm starting next year. So forcing a gap year because they have their grades already. But then obviously that impacts on the next group of students who will go through and take their A-levels. It's going to be very, 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 very competitive next year because those selective universities will already have less places to offer.
It's like a domino effect, which will never end.
It will never end.
There might be another pandemic.
Yeah, it's impacted by the restrictions around social distancing. It's not like we can just build bigger lecture theatres and have more students learning. There are these restrictions that are very real. So, it kind of is pushing the problem a little bit down the road, but we will see when we get there.
Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, I'm basically throwing out info that I'm not fully sure about, but I've seen articles around the ideas of universities offering some students lower fees next year when they defer this year. I think they didn't mention any numbers that how much cheaper it would be, but I'm actually just now debating myself, like how is it feasible or even possible? Because, like, for example, European students, they won't have funding next year. So why would anyone want to do that in the first place amongst European students?
Yeah, the big question mark and the big unknown still is students coming from overseas to the UK. And because there is no real marker until somebody actually comes and enrolls at the university about whether they're going to be able to do so. And the start dates for this, because of COVID, are very loose. So lots of students starting online, but actually arriving in the UK, all the way up to January 2021. There are implications, as you said, about funding for EU students. So those EU students, they want to come over as soon as possible and settle into the UK because they receive the funding to do it, the same loans as UK students get. But they won't receive them next year. So you're right, there is impetus to come and get in this year. Universities actually really like deferrals because it's a much more concrete footing to forecast class sizes and numbers. So if you know students have got grades already and how many are on each course, it actually gives you much more of a sure footing to do good planning and resourcing and everything else. You're not waiting for students to take exams and worrying about whether they're going to meet the offer. So many universities like deferred students because it gives them that much stronger base for planning and budgeting. So I'm not surprised if some of them are encouraging deferrals because it's moving the costs on to the next year. It's diluting the problem of how many students are on campus, and also it allows them to predict more solidly what they're expecting in 2021 in terms of numbers. So that is interesting, and it would be very interesting to see if students take up the offer. I think if you revisit our chat about the gap year from hell, it will be very interesting to see if students still view it like that. As far as I know, many students are committed to university. They see it as their best option at this stage.
Fully agree. Do we have any? So, for example, students who are coming to the UK, international students, for example, coming to the UK, planning to arrive early September, couple of weeks only now to go, 2-3 weeks. So what advice do we have for them? Let's try to put together a comprehensive review of what's the situation currently and what would be the top 2, 3, 4, 5 things to keep on mind.
So I would say you need to get your transcripts and your grades in so you can confirm your place. And that is fairly urgent now because universities have it within their power to start to say they're withdrawing offers if you haven't met the conditions. Usually it's about the first week of September, but because of this pressure on places, actually it might come sooner. So I would say anybody who has their evidence of meeting the grades needs to get that submitted as soon as possible. Yeah. Students who require a visa, many of them are making payments now, which is great, and they need to be very careful about the maturity of their bank accounts. So leaving their accounts untouched for a month with the correct amount that shows their maintenance costs and their fees for the school. That is really important part and a big reason for visa rejections. So they need to leave that alone, ready for their visa application. So having this matured account. And universities are issuing CASs now for visa application. So everything is going smoothly there. We are on track to be open. All the universities are opening campuses. Yes, there's going to be lots of arrangements about some online study and some class study. Check with your universities. They're all producing really detailed information guides now about what that looks like, what campus looks like, the things that you need to do, the way you'll learn and study. Check with your university about those measures. The big thing now is accommodation. So please don't come to the UK. Try and book accommodation first. Because again, pressure on numbers means pressure on accommodation. And so really try and get yourself booked up into accommodation. There will be university accommodation, but if that's sold out now, there is plenty of private options. You shouldn't be afraid of the private sector. So accommodation is the other thing. And then just the practicalities of booking flights and coming. We've been through this a few times now. The UK has some quarantine restrictions for coming from certain countries, so check the government advice. Quarantining just means that staying inside for 2 weeks.
We've done that.
We can all do that, yes. and universities are making provision for that. You need to complete a locator form. So you need to complete a form before you travel to the UK about where you're staying, how long you're staying, which countries you've been in while you're transitioning to the UK, transiting. So check out those things. We've got all of these things on the blog, all of these things on our Instagram. So yeah, I mean, I need to stop talking and you guys need to get searching for this stuff.
For sure, yeah. We have just recently published on our Medium a complete pre-departure checklist for not only our students, for anyone who's interested. So, I mean, it's a long URL. I just put it down here, but I commented it both from Facebook and YouTube, so you can actually access it via the link. We have also tons of other like really useful information. For example, for Europeans, we have like a full article about the pre-settled status, why, how, and when. So yeah, do check out our Medium. Tons of valuable information. Yeah, I mean, on Instagram, Facebook, we have so much quick, snappy information, fast-paced, fast-moving information. But I think Medium is the place where everyone can get like super detailed advice and yeah, just information on how, what, and when.
Absolutely. We have so many good kind of student writers, creators, giving their real insight to what it's like to be a student in the UK and helping others navigate this kind of difficult situation. I love Medium. I love the blog. So please take a moment to check it out. Yeah, and just reasons to be excited. I've ranted a lot today, but we're nearly there, guys. Universities are opening. I'm super excited for everybody taking up their places, for all the kind of fun you're going to have, all the things you're going to learn, the new people you're going to meet. It's a really exciting time, and I love this moment when people step out and start the adventure.
Yeah, and like for everyone who are like worried and like thinking of why this happened during my university experience time, like I don't know, like my advice would be just adjust. Like stuff happens, and like all you can do now is just adjust and enjoy the current situation. We've discussed so many things this whole thing has brought us that's positive already on the past episodes. And yeah, like there's no reason to worry about it anymore because it's just wasting our time, I think.
Definitely. Be brave, step out. It's not as bad as you think. Be sensible, but yeah, absolutely. Listen to this advice. You know, the opportunity is there. You should be super excited about coming to the UK and starting a university course.
By the way, I just saw yesterday, I think, my hometown university, Nottingham Trent, put out some information about Welcome Week 2020. And it was quite promising, to be fair. Like if I was starting uni now, I would be excited because there was tons of like a beer garden events, like most of the like discos and like parties were actually outdoors. So they'll have like what do you call it, like the bracelets and stuff that you can have that like are UV parties and stuff. So
yeah.
they will have like outdoor events, but I'm assuming they're trying to give through the same experience that was possible before with like nightclubs and so on.
I think maybe they watched our episode on what Welcome Week would look like. I think we were saying this, outdoor events, people have had a summer now of learning how to cope with kind of socializing, but outdoors and in a safe way. And people are used to kind of ordering in restaurants in this, you know, in a different way, about, you know, going to bars and pubs, but keeping a distance with your group of friends.
Partnering with so many different places now. So at that guide that I saw, there was like tons of like outdoor cinema events with cocktails and so on. And like, just like, well, I would be excited, to be fair, because it's just a new experience. It's not the same old way anymore, is it?
yeah, it's completely new, and people
And
have
if the
got
weather is promising as well.
people have got yeah, people have got great ideas, and some people are really seizing the opportunity of like business ideas and so on. And yeah, I'm really excited about just seeing people back on campus, talking to people about their experience, and just seeing how this kind of plays out. The universities have never been so attentive to your needs, to student needs. So it's a really good time, because they're so ready to welcome you, and so committed to making you have a good experience, despite COVID.
Wonderful. Happy. Everyone's happy. Yeah, must be.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's Friday. Yeah. I mean, there's no reasons not to be happy. Cool. Should we wrap it up, or you have anything to add?
No, we're still here. We're still working hard. We're still making offers. So please, get in touch if you need any help. There is still time, and you know, in these confusing times, you need a bit of advice about what to do and when to do. So users, please fill out the form on the website, and just get in touch with us. We're a group of professionals and students and graduates, just helping others to apply to UK universities, and having a lot of fun doing it.
Yep, fully agree. Anyways, we'll highly likely meet next Friday with you. So,
And until then, see you then.